Hello everyone, Jamie here from Bite Me Games, and today we're going to be giving you guys a walkthrough through our game Forge Industry. For those who've been following our devlog, you probably know a lot of things about the game already, but this is the first time you'll be seeing an actual playthrough and not just cut out fragments for video backgrounds. And those who haven't watched our devlogs yet, go watch them right now. I'll wait. Hello, welcome back. For those that went to go watch the devlogs, for those that haven't, no worries. I'm going to still give a little bit of info that you would have otherwise received in the devlogs right here, right now. So let's go to the basics. What is Forge Industry? Well, Forge Industry is a resource automation game where the main purpose of the game is to try and automate and make as efficient as possible processes of creating your materials. In this case, for example, swords, a tankard for drinking, and all that sort of stuff. We can accomplish that by making different routes and assigning workers to do certain tasks, and also hiring more workers so we can get tasks done more quickly. About the game itself now, we'll get into it. So when we open the game, first of all, we'll see here we have a few options like the continue button, new game, etc. Like a default main menu, nothing special. We're going to create a new game, of course. And right now I'm just going to leave everything as default, but I'll give a little bit of explanation about what everything is, of course. So first of all, you have the option to select a stage. Here you can see we have plains, snowy peaks, island, and desert. In this case, we're going to keep it on plains just for demo purposes because it's easiest to explain, and also for a first playthrough is most interesting. But the other biomes are also already working. For example, in snowy peaks, the main difficulty is that you have a lot of mountains, which means that it'll be harder to construct, find places to place buildings and construct your empire, because you don't have a lot of space. On the islands, you'll have the issue that exporting is going to be a lot harder. Imagine you're surrounded by water, and of course, it's not going to be very easy or cheap to export items across the ocean. And then the desert is a little bit of a combination of both, as in it's really hard to export items in the desert. Resources are more scarce. But unlike the snowy peaks, you do have quite a lot of building space because deserts are like a pretty straight up flat area with a lot of space. For difficulty, we're also going to leave it at normal for now, for demo purposes. And then you see two more toggles here, which are also turned off. Dynamic world events, we also have turned off. And what dynamic world events basically are is every time you play the game, it will be different. Dynamic world events will cause random events to happen that will fluctuate the price in the market throughout the whole game, which means that you won't just have one OP item like most other resource automation games have, but rather it will be different every playthrough, causing a new, fresh experience. But the reason we have turned it off right now is also not to overwhelm the player and to be able to better demonstrate other features of the game. But of course, we still want to mention it because it's a big part of the game. The other setting we also have turned off, you can see here, is randomized worlds. Also because this starting seed that we chose and have programmed is a pretty good one. For an example, we have like a nice flat starting area and also the one that's been mostly tested. So let's start our game. We're going to get into it now. And you'll see the game is just going to load. And once we spawn in, we'll have three basic buildings. We're going to have the recreation area, which is where we can look at our current workers, the routes that they have, and also hire extra workers or fire them if we need more money or anything like that. Then we also have the marketplace, which is where we can buy most of our resources, starting resources that is. For example, we can buy logs here or ores. Of course, we can't just buy ingots or planks here because we have to create those ourselves. Otherwise, where would be the fun? You'll also see a lot more buttons up here than what I just covered, but I'll get into those later after we just do a basic playthrough. And the last building we have here, but also one of the most important ones already, is the wood saw. We're going to need this building instantly to get started, and it'll be used heavily throughout the tutorial as well to create our planks and then also our rods to make the item we are going to make in the tutorial, which is going to be a tankard. So we're just going to follow the tutorial along for now. But also I'll give a little bit extra explanation, of course. So the tutorial here says, before a dwarf can call himself a master smith, he needs to understand how to make tankards. All you need is some oak planks, oak rods, a few nails, and to keep it together. A worker willingly forced to do it. So let's start with the basics, buy some oak logs. Okay, so the first thing we gotta do now is, it says buy oak logs at the marketplace. So we just click on the marketplace to open this UI, and then at the top here we can see we can buy oak logs. We can either just click on it to buy it at once, to buy one of them, or we can just increase the number here to buy all the ones we need. So there we go, we bought 20 oak logs. Perfect, that's step 1 of the tutorial done, and we're well on our way to making the tank carts now. As you can see, it says we found the marketplace, correct, and those oak logs need to be processed in a wood saw, so the building down here. The last owners of these lands conveniently left one behind for us. That's kind of them, of course. But before we can start it up, we'll require some workers to man the station. So now we gotta provide them with a little bit of incentive, in this case by placing some roads so they can actually find the buildings. Because the workers are quite dumb and they can't just walk to the buildings on their own. So I'm just going to take the most expensive road we have right now, just because I can. And let's draw a road between these buildings here to make sure everything is connected. So as you can see, our workers are pretty slow by default, so we're just going to increase the game speed a bit to make them a little bit faster. Obviously this doesn't mean they only walk faster, they will also work faster, which is great for us because we want efficiency and a lot of profit. So, next step. As you can see, 2 workers have run off to start the wood saw up for you, as we saw. Now we need to provide them with some oak logs to turn into oak planks. Well, otherwise, if they don't have materials, they're not going to be able to do anything, of course. So, now it's telling us how to create a route, which I will show you right now. In every building, we have this new route button, or well, almost every building. And what this button allows us to do is define routes between buildings. So we can say, take this item to that building, and then optionally also return this item back in a loop to the first building. So you see the arrows are a little bit of a loop here. So what we're gonna say is, okay, we wanna go from the marketplace. We can either select it from this drop down here, which we can do right now because we don't have a lot of buildings, but once we have a lot of buildings, it's not going to be easy to do that because you will have to scroll far in the list. We also have this neat little icon next to here, which is like a binoculars. Clicking on that, we can also select the building we want to go to, not by selecting it in the list, but just clicking it on the map. So we're just going to click on the wood saw, and then we'll see, okay, marketplace to wood saw. By default, it selected oak logs for us, because that's the first option here. Of course, we could also select other items if we wanted it, or use our special wildcards if you want to be really efficient. But for now, that's out of the scope. And you can see here, with wood saw, I also said no item. You might be tempted to select, okay, planks, because a wood saw create planks, but we don't want to do that because otherwise, because of this circle here, we would see the wood saw, the workers would be taking the planks from the wood saw and selling them again at the marketplace. Which is great because we get money, but it's also not great because we don't get a lot of money for something we barely did anything with. So we want to further process it into something that's worth a lot more, like a tank cart, for example. So we're just going to leave this on none, so it doesn't take the item with them. And because I'm also not patient, I will also increase the worker count to 3 so we can get them moving a lot faster. So we're just going to increase to 3, click on finish, and you'll see that they start moving our items back and forth. You will see there are 3 workers here, they're just inside of each other right now. But that's okay, they still do just as well. And you can see we have our planks created, or well, most of them. Now, because the tutorial doesn't say this, but I know we're going to need a lot more planks in the future, so I'm just going to buy every possible plank we can right now. Or well, as much as the game allows in one purchase. So we just have enough planks to just keep the machine going, you know. Next up, we now created the planks, but now we also need to turn the planks into rods, because the tank cart needs both planks and rods. While we could also select the current wood saw and then just change the recipe, that's not really nice because then we also break our automation flow, and the whole point of the game is to keep everything automated. So maybe for speedrunning it might be better, but in our case we're not going to do that. So we are just going to go ahead and buy a second wood saw. That is, if I can find it in the menu. There it is. And we're just going to place it down right next to the other one. It doesn't really matter. The only thing that matters is that we have to connect the road. But you'll see once I connect this road, as the tutorial already spoils, nothing's going to happen. Because we don't have enough workers. By default, we will get 5 workers, but obviously 5 people isn't going to be enough to man 2 wood saws and every other future adventure that we want to accomplish. So we're going to have to buy more workers. The tutorial here tells us to buy 10 workers, but again, I'm just going to spam it a bit and get like a little bit more workers just because we can. We can get up to 25 per recreational area, so that's perfectly fine. And if we want to get more, we can always place more recreational areas in the future, but for now, we don't need it. So that's perfectly fine. Now we gotta configure the new wood saw as well, of course, because we gotta tell it we don't want to take any logs as input, we want to take planks, because we need to turn planks into the rods. So we're going to take planks here, and just to show you that we also have a search functionality, I'm going to type in rod, and you can see it'll suggest we make rods. Of course, now we also need to tell the workers, hey, bring this from this building to that building, because again, the workers are not very smart, so we need to tell them exactly what to do, like a well-oiled machine. So we're going to say, okay, from this wood saw to that wood saw. And you can see they're both named wood saw right now. I also have the choice to rename them. And then we're also going to say no item back to the other one, because otherwise we're going to have workers stuck with rods in their inventory trying to bring it to the other wood saw. And then, yeah, they're not going to accept it, so it's just going to get stuck in their inventory. And again, same story as before, I'm just going to assign a lot of workers to it because I can. I have the power. That is our wood situation sorted. As you can see, of course, we also need the nails, if you remember. And nails obviously can't be made with wood. Or well, they might be, but they're not going to be very strong, so we don't really want that. Plus it'll also look a little bit more better and professional, and we're trying to run a business here, so let's keep it professional. So we're going to need a refinement station as well, so we can make our nails, or well, in this case, smelt our ore into ingots. And this is totally not efficient to be placing it all the way at the back here and connecting a long road, but I'm going to do it anyway, again, because I can. And I'm also going to like make a little nice circle so they can walk all the way around if they want to. Now, a refinement station is a special building, or well, one of the special buildings, because unlike a wood saw, it also requires a material, a fuel to burn. You can see, as the tutorial here says, but I've deviated from the tutorial a little bit because it's a lot of words and I don't want to read everything out loud. We also need to give this thing a little bit of fuel, and by default that's coal in our game. Now there are a few ways to get coal. You can either buy them from the marketplace, which is what we are going to do right now. So I'm just going to, like the wood again, which you see is all gone, buy a lot of coal, and then we also need to set the route to deliver the coal from the marketplace to the refinement station. And then this changes to coal. Oh, that's QWERTY, I'm used to typing AZERTY. Voila, and I'll just assign 2 workers this time because I'm a little bit less impatient, still impatient. So finish, and now you'll see our trusty little workers are bringing the coal to the refinement station. And as you also saw, the little icon saying that it still needs fuel disappeared because it has fuel now. Now, there are also different ways to get coal. For example, you could also place down a mine, which I'm going to just demonstrate. And a mine also requires some workers. So let's just connect up the mine. And you'll see once workers get into the mine, they will start mining for you. And it will produce resources. Mostly it'll produce stone. Also has a rare chance to produce coal and iron. So if you want, and you don't want to buy your resources, it might be more efficient to just place a lot of mines and then maybe sell the things you don't need, keep the things you do need, and just like try and get it that way. If you want to be money efficient. In this case, we're trying to be time efficient, so we do not need to mine. In which case I am going to say goodbye. So next up, we have our refinement station ready to go. Now all we need is the ore. Since I just removed the mine, I am unfortunately going to have to buy it, which totally was not the original plan. And we're going to have to set up another route again to bring the iron to the refinement station. Now, as you've noticed, up until now, I've only added 1 stop on each route. We'll set up a little bit more of an advanced route soon, but for now we're still going to keep it a little bit simple and we'll work our way up to more advanced things. So we're going to say from the marketplace, take 1 iron ore, bring it to the refinement station, and then again, we don't want to take anything from the refinement station and sell it to the marketplace again for the same reasons as we previously discussed. So we're going to press finish, and then you'll see our worker is going to start moving the iron ore that is, and it'll get smelted nicely into our iron ingots, which brings us 1 step closer to making the nails. The next step is to turn these iron ingots into iron bars, which we can do with a forge. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because you know the drill by now. We place on a forge, our trusty workers go there, and now we need to set up another route for coal because this is also a building that requires fuel. So we're just going to say coal. There we go. And again, 2 workers. Voila. And then we also need to set up one more route to bring the items from the refinement station to the forge. Because otherwise it's not going to get the iron ingots, it needs to turn it into bars. And one worker is enough because they're like right next to each other, so this will be really efficient, as you can see here. And voila, we've created the bars. Now the last step to making our nails is to place down a fastener station which can turn our bars into nails. Now this station doesn't need any fuel, so it's really easy. We just pop it down, the workers go there, we set up one more route, and I'm going a bit faster now because I think everybody gets the drill by now, to turn some the bars into nails, and done. And it seems I forgot to switch it to nails, so we have some bolts now, which also gives me a good opportunity to demonstrate that we can also remove items that we don't want. Alright, as you'll have noticed, we have a lot of nails by now. We took the liberty of just cutting the video, so you didn't have to wait. But there were a little bit too much nails made, so now we have too much nails, or we could also say we have enough nails for a lot of profit. That's also an angle we can look at. Next step is to combine everything in a workbench. This is the final pièce de la résistance, which is to just combine them all nicely into a tank cart. And for that we are going to buy a workbench, if I can find it. There we go. And we're just going to place it down like any other building. And I'm also going to take the liberty of placing another recreational area, because we have actually hit our snag, because I'm being very greedy with my workers. And then we're just going to buy a lot more workers, because we want 50 of them. We're not going to need 50, but we do want them. Also, as I alluded to before, inside of here you can see all the routes created. So from the forge to the fastener station, marketplace to the forge, you can see the workers that are assigned to it and how many steps it has as well. So here you can manage all your routes basically. Now, I did say before we were going to create a little bit more of an advanced route, so that's exactly what we're going to do here. Unlike the tutorial, which just says how we need to configure our workbench, we are going to tell some workers to bring the items and also instantly sell the tank cart that we create. So right here, right now you see we have two category selectors. They will get prettier and get a little bit more clear about what they mean in the future. For now, we just need to select the utilities tab, which is the second one, and then we will find a tank cart. And then we need to configure all the inputs as well for what we need, which in this case is going to be oak planks. We're also going to need oak rods. There we go. And then lastly, nails. There we go. And now everything should be configured correctly to create our tank cart. All we need to do now is make the route. So we're going to create a new route and we're going to collect all our resources. So the first thing we need is we want to go from the wood saw to our crafting station, which is going to bring us the planks. Then the second route we need is to go from our other wood saw to the workbench, and that will bring us the rods. Voila. Yeah, that's correct. Okay, and also for workers, finish. And then the last thing that we need is to bring our nails over, which we will create one more route for. But this route will expand a little bit upon. We're going to do exactly as we did just now, bring the nails. But we're also going to add another stop here, which will go to the marketplace, which allows us to instantly sell the item that we created, which is going to be the tank card. There we go. So this route, as you can see, has multiple steps, and you can create gigantic routes that will take the nails from the fastener station to the workbench, and then from the workbench to the marketplace, the tank cart, to sell it. The reason you might want to create multiple routes is, for example, like this, to create a whole automation workflow. The thing about creating routes with a lot of steps is you can either choose to have a lot of routes, a lot of small routes, which will be really efficient on your time, but really expensive on your workers. Or you can create a lot of big routes, which will be very efficient on your workers and gold situation, but it will be long and it'll take up a lot of your time and efficiency. So that's a choice you have to make during the game, how well to optimize your game. The game is made to be easy to get into, but hard to master, which is perfectly demonstrated here with these routes. I'm also going to assign 10 workers to them because we have more than enough workers and I don't like people just sitting around doing nothing. And you'll see we have a lot of people bringing stuff all over the place here. And if we open the crafting station, I mean the workbench, sorry, we're going to see that the nails are getting delivered, the rods are getting delivered, but we're also noticing we don't have any planks. Now, why is that? Because most likely all the planks have been turned into rods. I was correct. So we're going to have to buy a lot more logs, which is why I bought more initially, but apparently we didn't have enough, because this wood saw was a little too fast and just stole all of them. And I'm pretty sure that's going to keep happening unless we remove that route, because I placed them too close next to each other. So we are just going to go ahead and say from wood saw to wood saw, be gone. Okay, so now we have the planks brought to the crafting station, and as you can see, as you saw pop up, a tank card was made and it instantly disappeared. Also, don't mind the output not showing up. That's been noted as a bug. But you can see our tank cards were being made and they're being instantly picked up by workers and sold. And we just made 3 and sold 3, which completes our tutorial. And yeah, this little thing remains, that's yet to be fixed, but the tutorial is done, I can assure you. So now that the tutorial is completed, we can go into our sell history in the marketplace and see that all our tankers have been sold for a lot of money, and we made a huge profit, or we are making a huge profit in the long run. So that concludes our playthrough of the game. Now, unfortunately, in the beginning of the video, I did say that I was going to show you a little bit more advanced methods, or maybe even all the buildings, but I'm afraid we won't have time for that because the video has gone on quite long as it is. And by this point, most people's attention span have probably already drifted elsewhere. But if you want to see any more advanced topics, or you want to see some things I didn't cover, or you want us to go over all the buildings in the game or anything like that, just leave your comments down below in the description. We'll take a look at them, and if enough requests have been given to make a video out of it, then we will go over them and create a follow-up video on this one, covering all the questions and anything you might want to know. So I hope you find it a little bit more informative, and I hope you also enjoy the game a bit more, as in how it looks compared to just the devlogs where we have some background footage. And yeah, we'd also welcome any feedback you have about the game, whether about the gameplay, art style, anything you want to talk about. And we will take it all to heart and see what we can do with it. So thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you find this helpful, and maybe even consider wishlisting the game on Steam, following our future devlogs, all the cool stuff. And we will see you all next time.